안녕하세요, 여러분. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. So these days, a lot of violent crime is seemingly being reported in South Korea, with particular emphasis on the knife incidents and all the copycat crimes. So in this video, I asked many foreigners from all around the world how safe they feel in South Korea in 2023. After that, I will show you an interview I did with a South Korean police officer on his experience and how safe he thinks Korea is in 2023 compared to years past. Without further ado, let's begin.
Hi, I'm from Japan.
I'm from New York City.
I'm from Boston.
How safe do you feel in Korea 2023?
I would say pretty safe.
Okay.
Definitely more safe than America. Definitely more safe than Brazil, actually.
Of course, it's not the best kind of news to hear about the knife stabbing incident, so I feel for the victims, but at the same time, I myself did not feel more dangerous being here.
I love New York City, so I'm not repping New York City like in a bad way, but we do have a lot going on in the subways and stuff. Crimes, a lot, violence, acts of violence. So being from there, like here, I'm like, I know it's like the likelihood of something happening to me right now in this moment is a lot smaller than if I was walking back home at night in like New York City, like coming home.
I feel pretty safe, and I think a large part of that is that there's a lot of cameras pretty much everywhere, and that's not really a thing in the Netherlands, right? So in the Netherlands, it feels like if you go into some dark alley, you might get jumped, but here it doesn't give that same vibe to me, at least.
Despite the news.
Yeah, despite the news, I've read the news and I've heard about it through other fellow students.
So I've been here 2 months, and just personally, I feel like in the US, right, like we get catcalled.
Yeah.
But I think just the overall like clothing, you have to dress more conservative. I feel really uncomfortable like showing more skin. I don't know if it's because in the US I'm used to it, but here I feel like people like look at me because I'm a foreigner and then they look at what I'm wearing. And I've gotten a lot of like bad looks from maybe like older people. But again, I don't want to generalize because it's like some people are super sweet and don't care.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like a cultural thing, but I do feel like I already stand out as it is.
Sure.
So I'm trying to do my best not to, so I don't feel as safe as I would have thought. And again, it's not to say Korea is not safe, because there's a lot of places in the US I wouldn't feel comfortable, even in Boston, walking down the street. Like you could get shot, things like that. Here, I don't think that happens, but I think like on the woman perspective and being a foreigner, that is a very unique experience. And again, people are going to say different things. So
I'm from Japan, but I feel like in terms of women's safety, South Korea is more like feels safer because in Japan, inside the train, some people has no manner, no education, and touch women's body easily. So I feel more safe.
I'm from Seattle, Washington. I haven't been here very long, but I've probably feel safer here just by myself. But with the stabbings, I definitely have not been like going out by myself as much, but I'm not super worried about it, as that's like probably a more common thing to happen in Seattle.
Hi, I'm George and I'm from the UK, England to be exact. I've lived in Korea for about 7.5 years. I think it's really shocking because Korea it's a really safe country and this kind of thing doesn't often happen. Also, one of these incidents occurred near my place, so that was really, really scary. I still feel quite safe because, you know, if something is just reported a lot in the news, you kind of get a sense that it occurs more frequently than it actually does.
Personally, I feel very safe, especially compared to back home. I live in Brussels, a big city.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go out at night, not even with a group of girlfriends.
Really?
Really.
Why? What do you have to worry about?
I constantly check if my phone and my wallet are still there. Here, I can just leave them on a table, come back 10 minutes later, they will be there. Yeah, just worrying of being harassed, really. Here, I have no worry of that at all.
I think I feel a lot safer here walking around, but also because there's so much people still hanging out in the streets at night, so much young people, older people, families, that you don't feel like you have to watch your back all the time.
Hey, how's it going? Where are you from?
The US. I haven't had any bad encounters at all.
Yeah.
And I've been here a long time, so I've gone out and done a whole bunch of things, but yeah, I haven't had any bad encounters and I've felt pretty safe.
I'm from France. This kind of accident with knife that always happen. So I really feel more safety here. Like in the street, I really feel confident. Even if I'm dressed like with a little skirt, I don't care.
Yeah, I feel really safe here. I mean, walking around by yourself, like doing everything on your own in the middle of the night. Everyone's like been pretty friendly as well. Like it's not intimidating. And I'd say the same in the UK, in the city where I live. But compared to like London, like another like city of a similar size, I'd say here feels much safer.
Yeah. Do you think though that because you're a man and you're quite tall, then?
Oh, for sure.
In England, well, it depends where you go. There are some areas where gangsters operate, so I wouldn't feel
Peaky
very
Blinders.
Yeah, maybe they're still about, who knows. yeah, those kinds of areas I wouldn't feel very confident going to. I mean, I was chased once, even though I'm from the countryside, so I got the train home and I was walking home from the train station, and I live in a very, very small village, and suddenly like a group of blokes just started chasing me, shouting expletives at me, and fortunately a guy that I knew drove past and gave me a lift, so I was saved.
What were they angry at?
I think it's because I was wearing skinny jeans.
Is that it?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it seemed to upset them, so.
Hey, what's up? I'm from Paraguay.
How long have you been in Korea?
A little bit over 4 years now. I don't usually go out alone at night anymore. I became just a little bit more wary of my surroundings, especially because I'm a woman, but at the same time, knowing where I come from, it's still technically safe, I would say. Comparing to Korea, I guess you could say the crime rate is way higher.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I can just walk around at night and not really have a worry about if someone's just gonna attack me. Because in Brazil, you know, it's like kind of like it's like a unwritten curfew. If you're out past a certain hour, it's like you're a target to be robbed. In America too, like you know, you could be a victim of some sorts, especially if you're out in the streets in the middle of night in like a city. But I think here in Korea, it's definitely a different vibe with just the safety, because you know, there's CCTV everywhere. There's just more police presence. They're always patrolling. And honestly, the culture here, not a lot of people go out of their way to just attack you out of nowhere. And also, like, there's not weapons on the streets, there's not guns, there's not knives. They're really strict on all those things.
Yeah.
And so I do feel more safe in Korea in 2023 than
despite all of the new news coming out of the violence and whatnot.
Yeah.
You still feel safe.
I still feel safe.
Cool. Now, you were saying you feel less safe dressing freely
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
because you get unwanted attention.
Yeah. I almost.
Not necessarily catcalls, but just stares.
Yeah, I get like looked at, I get walked, like people follow me. Again, on the campus, like I'm really lucky to have a really safe campus like Solgang. Like this feels comfortable, especially because there seems to be some already like level of respect, but especially like when I'm taking the subway in Hongdae and things like that, like I get looked at a lot.
That's interesting because it feels like Hongdae, Itaewon, even Gangnam perhaps are quite international neighborhoods, so you still feel like that in Hongdae?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Korea, like in some sense, when it comes to crimes, is still like, I would say it's safer than my country, but then in some other ways, it's like some new things that I never thought would be like concern became one.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like stalking is kind of common here. Like guys following me. I've never experienced that back home.
Yeah.
And then I started to, when I came here, I think that became a new thing for me to start to worry about. And
so it's happened to you?
Yeah, it's happened to me multiple times.
Of course, like no country is ever free of crime. Even though like Korea is a super safe city, of course there's going to be incidents where like stabbings occur and different crimes occur. But at the same time, I think Korea does a really good job of keeping everyone else safe. Of course, like, you know, not all incidents can be stopped, but they do a really good job at making sure that nothing happens.
Right.
So that everyone stays safe.
Cool.
I was gonna say, we're used to having school shooting drills in high school in the US. Like, I'm prepared in the US for anyone to come up with an automatic and shoot me in any public place. So as horrible as the knife incident is, or I don't know much about it, I feel like that is something that in the US would not even make the news. Like,
yeah.
and again, it's not like I think it's great that something like this is getting a lot of attention maybe here because it should. People are dying. I mean, that's horrible. But I'm being from the U.S. That's not really.
It's not
I
news.
think that doesn't scare me.
It's a very sad, an unfortunate situation. But I think, just both of us being from the U.S., something like that wouldn't make the news. Cause
not newsworthy.
Yeah, it happens so frequently, or it may even make the news. But so many things happen, you get a lot of information overload. So
desensitized.
Yeah, you're kind of. That's exactly what it is. I'm very desensitized to it, but more so the act, not so people dying. I think that's very unfortunate, and it's sad for the families, or people being injured. That's sad for the families.
Sure.
Compared to Japan, government really listen to the, kunmin, the national people in Korea. So if there's something big is happen, Korean people is shouting, protest, and again the government is gonna prepare a solve really quickly. So I think it feels okay.
Would you recommend people to travel to South Korea despite all this?
I would. I think it's very cool here. It's really different from where I'm from, so it's just a really cool new experience.
It's still safe. It's just, unfortunately, these attacks have started, but I think the chances of you actually being there when it happens are pretty slim. So I think you'll be okay.
There are anomalies everywhere. There's crime everywhere. Crime is going to be inevitable to any place where there's people. So I'm definitely not going to be don't come here, because at the end of the day, we should at least acknowledge that this country is significantly more safe than the country where we're from.
Yes, because it's safe, the culture is beautiful, people
Also,
are friendly.
If you're just here on holiday, you're not gonna have these problems of being stressed about your work like the Koreans themselves are. So if you're just here on holiday, it's very good. But it's indeed something that keeps me back from wanting to live and work here.
The work-life balance?
Yes.
Interesting. 안녕하세요. 먼저 자기소개 부탁드려도 될까요?
예, 안녕하세요. 저는 화성시 동탄에 살고 있는 현직 경찰관 윤혁진이라고 합니다.
반갑습니다. 요즘 칼부림 사건 관련 뉴스가 많이 보이는데 경찰 입장에서는 폭력적인 범죄가 과거에 비해 더 많이 발생하는 것 같아요.
이제 이슈가 되는 굵직한 사건들이 언론에 보도되고 그런 것들이 이제 SNS를 통해서 실제 범죄 현장들이 시민들한테 이렇게 급속도로 퍼지다 보니까 이제 많은 시민분들이 불안해하시고 그러는 것 같긴 한데 통계적으로 더 많이 발생하고 그런 것 같지는 않습니다. 그러니까 우리 대한민국은 치안 강국이고 치안 인프라가 워낙 잘 돼 있어요. 예를 들면 이제 CCTV도 어디 건물만 가도 CCTV가 다 녹화되고 있고, 그리고 차에 달려있는 블랙박스들까지 다 합치면은 범죄 사각지대는 거의 없는 것 같아요.
저는 이틀 전에 외국인 9명 정도 인터뷰했는데 한국은 얼마나 안전한지 물어봤어요. 많은 사람들이 경찰 대응 속도가 빨라서 안심 많이 느낀다고 했어요.
그렇게 느껴주셔서 정말 감사드리고 그게 또 맞는 것 같아요. 경찰관들이 현장에 신속히 출동해서 바로 검거하고 수사하고 그리고 지금 그런 불안한 마음을 시민들의 불안한 마음을 좀 줄이려고 지금 경찰들이 노력을 많이 하고 있거든요.
그런 것 같아요.
현장 경찰도 많이 늘리려고 하고 순찰 횟수도 더 늘리려고 하고 그런 노력을 하고 있습니다.
만약에 나쁜 사람과 같은 공간에 처하게 된다면은 어떻게 자신을 보호할 수 있을까요? 법적으로?
그렇게 맞닥뜨리게 되면 일단은 최대한 현장을 피하시고 왜냐하면 그런 사람들을 스스로 제압하려고 했다가 자기가 다칠 수도 있기 때문에 112로 바로 신고를 주셨으면 좋겠어요. 그럼 예를 들어서 요즘에 흉기 들었다 이런 신고 들어오면은 그 관내 순찰차뿐만 아니라 형사들 그리고 인근 인접서 그 순찰차들까지 일사불란하게 바로 현장에 출동을 해서 처리를 하거든요. 112 누르는데 얼마 안 걸리잖아요. 바로 신고를 해주셨으면 좋겠어요. 그런 거를 맞닥뜨린다면 절대 직접 대응하지 마시고.
개인적으로 사형 그거 합법으로 됐으면 좋겠어요?
이미 우리나라는 합법이에요. 아직도 남아 있는 제도예요.
그건 몰랐습니다.
그래서 예를 들어서 뭐 대통령이나 법무부 장관이 집행하세요 하면은 집행할 수도 있는 나라예요. 그 실제로 뭐 극악무도한 범죄자들한테는 사형이 선고가 내려지고 있어요. 지금 현재도.
네. 시간을 내주셔서 너무 감사하고요.
아닙니다. 예. 요즘 사건에 대해서 이제 너무 불안해하시는데 아니 그렇게 걱정은 안 하셨으면 좋겠습니다. 이제 경찰관들이 너무 노력을 하고 있기 때문에 경찰관들은 실제로 24시간 계속 경찰관서는 운영되고 있거든요.
네.
뭐 가끔 그런 분들이 있더라고요. 밤에는 그 일 안 하시는 거 아니에요? 뭐 이렇게 물어보시는 분도 있는데 경찰관은 24시간 근무를 하고 있습니다.
네.
너무 그렇게 걱정 안 하셨으면 좋겠습니다.
감사합니다. 와.
네, 고맙습니다.
Yeah. I want to say one thing before I end this video though. One thing that is for sure is that mental health is on the decline. Depression and suicide statistics reflect this. In my opinion, increased drug use and violent crime are also symptoms of declining mental health. With the isolation we endured during lockdown and the crazy inflation we're going through right now, it's no wonder that mental health is on a decline. So I just want to say that I hope all of you watching have a good community of people around you, have a good plan and hope for the future, and are taking care of your bodies and minds as much as you can. All right, everybody, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, I'm Sean, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.